On this week's episode, we are going to talk about all of the jobs we've had.
We also talk about times we might have experienced workplace discrimination. Ooh.
Ooh. So stick around.
Hi, and welcome to Rare with Flair,
The podcast where two 20-somethings with the same rare disease are living their best lives. I'm your host, Casey.
And I'm your host, Cassandra.
Okay.
Woohoo, it's January. Has it snowed in Memphis?
It has snowed a few times. I can't believe it's still January. Don't you feel like January is the month that goes on for like 400 years, actually?
True, but today we're recording this on the 25th, and I'm always just like blown away at the way, time works, and I'm just like, wow, it's already the 25th.
Yeah, that's true. It's like it goes by really long and quickly at the same time. Actually, we're releasing this episode on February 1st, so happy February to everyone listening. Woohoo. We always record early, so we're like a step behind the times every moment.
I know, right? We're always talking about the holiday that just happened.
That already happened. Yeah, we're like, if you're making Thanksgiving dinner, and like it's like after Thanksgiving, so whoops. But anything exciting in your life? I don't feel like I have much to report to the listeners this week, but do you?
Trying to think.
I know.
My dad retired from his job.
Yes.
So congrats to my dad. I love you.
Huge congrats. You know what? Hey, perfect podcast to talk about that because job.
Oh, yeah.
Job,
I didn't even
retirement.
think about that. Wait. We should make that announcement. That announcement that we've been needing to make.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because Rare Disease Day is in February. I didn't tell her we were doing this.
No, she didn't. She did not prepare me for this at all. I was like, yeah, the announcement. Sure.
Super secret special announcement. Yeah. So Rare Disease Day is February 28th. And last year for Rare Disease Day, we celebrated by making our own merch, which is super fun.
Can't believe it's been a year. Gonna cry about it.
Wow, okay, BRB crying. But this year we were thinking about still raising some money for the HPS network, but in the interest of sustainability, we're not going to do a merch run this year. But we will have a link that will be up all of February for you to donate and then support the Hermansky-Pudlak Syndrome Network.
Yes, this money will go straight to research, specifically to help people who suffer from the lung disease that can be fatal for some people. And so that it's a big deal to us and to everyone. And I mean, if you're gonna put your money towards any kind of, nonprofits this year, we really would appreciate it. So yes.
Absolutely.
Be on the lookout. Rare Disease Day. It's all
It'll
rare
be
disease,
in
as
our
we say in the title.
Yes, it'll be in our bio links, our link trees. It'll be on our website under the show notes. So, rarewithflair.com/podcasts. And, we would really, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
So I mean, on that note too, like, please follow us on social media. If you're not, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Also, please leave a review. Spotify now has ratings. So I don't think Spotify has written reviews, but they have a 5-star rating system. It would really help us. It takes 5 seconds. If you're listening on Spotify, please rate. If you're listening on Apple, please rate and write a review. We can't thank you enough. Like, it really helps the podcast more than you know.
Really
and
does.
it's a quick, easy thing to do. And I feel like we used to say that all the time, and we don't even say it enough anymore. We don't remind our listeners enough. So please do that if you like what you hear.
Yes,
we would
and
really
tell your
appreciate it.
friends, and we can, maybe they can leave reviews.
Yes.
It's good. It's great. So, are we gonna jump?
I think we're gonna jump. We're gonna leap. We're gonna jump.
Let's do it.
Today, we're talking about jobs. I'm excited for this episode. We're going to talk a lot. We're going to discuss all the jobs we've had. We're going to discuss discrimination, like we said in the cold open. And we're going to play a fun game. And I think you really should stick around for this game. It's going to be about like the jobs we would have had if we went a different path. So I'm excited for this ep. We are going to talk about all the jobs we've had. And when I say that, I mean anytime we've been paid for anything. So even like internships and that kind of stuff too. Just anytime we've been paid to do something. Because some of my jobs are super random. I think maybe you've gone down a more like, okay. I was going to think you've gone down a more conventional path than me. But like, I don't actually know all the jobs you've had. So I think I've like mentioned a lot of mine briefly in conversation, but you might not even know some of the ones I've had too. So like, we've both had a similar amount of jobs, and we're going to go through them. But first, we were going to discuss that we neither of us worked in high school. A lot of people have jobs in high school, especially if they're like saving up for a car, which we did not do because blind. My sister had a job in high school. I didn't, and I'll kind of talk about that, and then you can say your reasoning. But for me, my parents always just kind of said, you know, school is your job. Try to do your best in school. But also, I was really focused on theater, and that took up all my extra time. About 3 hours a day after school, I was always doing theater, and that was kind of my hope, was to get like a scholarship and like really pursue that in college. So that was kind of my quote unquote job, if you will.
Yeah, and I also didn't work in high school. My parents had a similar philosophy. So like I was like total nerd in high school, so I did a lot of schoolwork, and I also was involved in extracurriculars. Like that's when I did cross country and other things. Actually, I think it was about a year ago we released our hobbies episode, so that's a fun listen.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so I did pretty much focus on school, and also a big reason was because that's when my chronic illness stuff started happening, was in high school. And so like I honestly like did not physically have the energy to be able to work. Right. So that was another big reason. But my brother also had a job in high school, but it wasn't until he was like a junior or senior. I think it was almost after he graduated. But you know, he worked at a restaurant, but like yeah, I mean, my brother and I worked really hard in school, and it did pay off. Like, we ended up getting some really good scholarships to study in undergrad, and I'm grateful for that. So,
yeah, totally. I mean, like, and I know some people have to work, and it's a privilege to not have to work. But yeah, we were still working hard at what we were doing in school and working hard for those scholarships and for college. So, so yeah, let's start talking about the jobs we've had.
How old were you when you had your first job? I'm just super curious.
I did my first paid internship in college, but I did get paid, even though this is not a job, I got paid for some theater growing up. In middle school and high school, there were some productions I did that paid, I mean, pretty minimal. So it's not really a job. I wouldn't consider it a job, though. But yeah, I was homeschooled in half of 7th and 8th grade, partly due to some health stuff too, and you know that's a whole another episode for another time. But that was kind of when I was really able to pursue theater, and like more of the daytime kind of shows like that pay, because there aren't as many people available. You know, it's a lot of homeschool kids usually doing them, but. So it definitely was not any kind of like sustainable job, but that was the first time I got paid for doing something.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, but should we go back and forth kind of?
Sure.
Like doing a brief description of our jobs. My first paid internship was in college. It was for a theater company. I've talked about it before. I will not say their name, and actually Cass and I, for the sake of our privacy, are probably not going to say the names of many, if any, of these places. But the reason I'm not saying the name of this one is it was a bad experience. It was really bad. It was really bad. Like the worst work experience I've ever had. I mean, there were, I guess, good moments of it, and I like performing, so I was glad that I got to perform. I don't even know. I was going to say, like, what character I was, but I don't want any of this, like, getting out of that I'm, like, slamming this company. Yeah. So we'll leave it at that. But anyway, like, it was a bad experience. And it was mainly the other interns, too, so it wasn't really the company itself as much. But I was grateful for the opportunity, and it taught me hard work for sure, because, woo, it was a lot. What about you? Like, what was your first job?
My first job is... like a really random story.
I'm so excited to hear it.
Okay, so I don't know, like, I'm sorry if this is long because I don't know how to summarize this experience.
No. We have like an hour-long pod. We can do this.
Okay. So the spring of my senior year, I was really, really sick. If you want to hear that story, you can listen to our episode 6. We used to reference it all the time, but this is actually extremely relevant. Is that I was really not able to do a whole lot of school, like, but I had already accepted going to Ohio State, and there was this email that went around to my student email, and a lot of like students that were like coming into the department, like freshmen and prospective students that were like coming in. And it was like this summer gig that was like completely virtual, and it was like through the government. So like they were like paying computer science engineers, and it was like, I don't even fully know what its purpose was, but we like were on this virtual world doing some kind of like learning experience. So we were like, we were in this platform that like is also known as Second Life, but like we were like little avatars and we would build things. I think the idea was to create like models for like some government partners and stakeholders so that there would be like an interesting way to present like media and material. I don't remember. We were working with like a water company or something, trying to make some like cute, like blocky, like, I don't know, like demos and things. It was super weird, super part-time. I got paid like a lump sum like at the end of the summer, and then we did like a little presentation. But like the whole experience was really random. Like when I was first like participating in it, like I was in the hospital.
Oh my gosh. Like, so was this whole thing done at home?
Yeah, it was
done
completely
virtually.
virtual.
Okay. So you're like in the hospital doing this job.
Yeah, and like when I was like setting up my like virtual world account, I accidentally clicked male instead of female. So then when I first logged on, I'm like, why am I a dude? I was like, oh, probably because I accidentally said. It was so funny.
That sounds wild. Like, I barely understand what you're even describing, to be honest. But it sounds like you almost don't even know what you're saying.
What happened? It felt like a fever dream, but I got paid for it. It sounds like a fever dream.
I love it. Hey, I mean, was it? Here's my question: was it a good experience? Like, did you enjoy it?
It was fine. Like, I'm glad that I was able to be able to put something on my resume before I even started college. That was really cool. And it was where I met some of my first friends when I was in undergrad. So it was also cool to just not be able to start from, like, complete zero. I at least knew some people that were on campus.
So my next job right out of college, I was working for my dad's company. And my dad... Cass and I don't want to share too many like personal things about our lives, but my dad is in the flooring business, and needless to say, it's not really my passion in life. But I was doing like, I know it's weird. I always said I would do flooring if not for theater, but nobody knows that secret about me.
It's a gal's dream.
Flooring, it's my dream. So I was doing like secretary work there, and I was grateful for the job, and it was good, and I liked the people, but I obviously wasn't passionate about the job, and at the time I felt really stuck. I was kind of burnt out from theater in college. And I didn't know where I was going to, I was living back at home. I didn't know what I was going to do. All my friends were living in different places. I felt lonely, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be working at my dad's company for the rest of my life. This is it for me. There's nothing for me. Like, I don't know why my self-confidence was that low, but I just like felt like I didn't even know what to do next. But I'm glad I had that time to rest and, figure out my life. It was like... Sure. Looking back, it was a good little break to figure out what I was doing, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And, like, I think it makes a lot of sense that you were burnt out after undergrad. I mean, like, you can listen to our college episode, but, ballet and having to, take that exam and, like, it sounds like a lot. So it makes a lot of sense that you were feeling, like, not the best.
Yes, I needed a moment away, but...
For sure.
So, what was your next job?
Right. So, my actual real first internship, I, between my sophomore in my junior year of undergrad. It was a summer thing. I worked for a local insurance firm, and I was doing front-end web development. So I overall liked the experience. Like, I had a positive experience. That summer I was like pretty busy also because I was doing this like leadership camp thing through my college church at the same time, so I was really busy. But I really liked the people that I worked with at this job. They were really great, really funny, and really intelligent people. But I think this is where the job, and I might have mentioned this on the college episode too, that I decided that I didn't actually want to be a developer. Which is really ironic. It was like my first real like development exposure.
Wow.
But I think a big part of that was like at the time that I had the job, I didn't really like have like that knowledge from undergrad. Like I had known a little bit of like front end work like HTML and JavaScript and things like that. I had done some of that work already, but I wasn't like a side project kid, so you know I didn't really really hone in those skills. And I don't know, I felt like the projects, you know, I was a computer science engineering major. I felt like the projects that we did in class were like more interesting, but up until that point we pretty much only talked about like theory and stuff, which was fine and good and helpful, I guess, but it wasn't really helpful when it came to having this job. So overall, I just found the work a little bit boring and repetitive, but that's not to say that that is like what development work is. It's just that was my perception. But again, I enjoyed my time there. I'm glad that I had that experience, and it was through that job where I got my first exposure to what user experience is, which is what I'm getting my master's degree in.
Oh, I love that. So yeah, you liked the people, but the job was kind of
Yeah, it was fine.
It was all right. Yeah. Okay, well that's good and not terrible. I like that it's not bad. At least it's not bad.
No, definitely not bad.
So my next job was about a year after working for my dad. I moved to New York. Thank goodness. No offense, Dad. Love you. But I right when I got there, a lot of my best friends were already living there at the time when I arrived, which was great for me. And a lot of them were working through this temp agency. So a lot of my friends and I, you know, were actors. So they would like audition in the early morning and then do their job. And so temping was good to kind of right when you first get to New York. If you don't have a job lined up, it's good to temp while you try to find a job.
Sure.
So right when I got there, I got a job through this temp agency, and I'm not going to name the agency because they have to do with my discrimination story later.
Ooh, juicy.
But I got a job, and I will say the name of this one because it's a name a lot of people might know, and, you know, I'm not going to say names of the other ones, but this one was MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, and the experience was overall pretty good. I liked that it was like a name people knew because you could say like, oh, I'm working at the MoMA. It just sounded kind of cool to say you were working there. One of my best friends, Ashley, was working there too, but she worked a totally different job than I did. She was like in guest relations or something. She was downstairs.
Stinks.
I never really saw her. But I worked for this exhibit, and it was like a special exhibit that was only there for a short amount of time, but it was really creepy. It had like real blood in it and like an old like birthing chair and all this kind of, and people would come out of it and tell me like, you don't need to work here, like this has really bad energy. Like I had like a psychic like pull me over and be like, ghosts are in there and all this. It was wild. And I got sick a lot because there were so many people. It was definitely the most like people oriented job I've ever had, and I stayed sick like the whole time because I was just interacting with people. So my bosses were nice. My coworkers, not so much. They were also actors, and they were a little bit snooty about like the colleges they went to and all that stuff. And that's how the theater world is. It's kind of toxic. That's kind of why one of the reasons why I never super went into it in New York. But overall, it was good. And one other really funny thing was, when we were doing our training there, the training video had a woman with albinism in the video, and I like wanted to tell everyone,
so cool.
like, Yeah, like I was like, I have albinism, but I didn't tell anyone. But anyway. But also one more thing. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Well, one more thing that was wild is we were like a block away from Trump Tower, and I worked the day he got elected.
Oh my gosh.
In 2016, and I was like afraid. I was like kind of afraid things were gonna.
That would have been scary.
I know, but sorry, what were you going to say?
Rioting in the streets. Oh boy.
No, I know. No, kind of.
What I was gonna say earlier, what I was gonna say earlier was, there's a really small factor to any job that is like the coolness factor when you tell someone you have the job, and I feel like working at MoMA has that effect.
It has a little bit of that factor, yeah, the coolness factor. So it wasn't like I feel like I just went in 1,000 different directions like talking about it, but it wasn't like the best job ever by any means, but I'm super thankful for the experience, and it felt really cool like walking to work and walking in there and like swiping my card and stuff.
Ooh,
and it,
New York.
It was fun, and I got to wear like cute like outfits, like I don't know. It was fun. It was good.
Oh,
it was fine.
That's kind of cool. That's so cool. I feel like I didn't, you said earlier, like I didn't know that about you. I feel like I didn't know a lot of like these other experiences that you've had until
I know
like,
we're
now.
Learning.
It's kind of cool.
Learning.
We learn about each other. So okay, speaking of going places to have jobs, the next job that I had. Oh, wait, I totally almost skipped something, which is coming up next. I didn't skip it now. Dang, how did I miss that? Okay. Anyway, so my next job was between my junior and senior years of undergrad, and it was the time that I've mentioned a lot. Okay, I didn't peak then, I promise.
No, I mentioned New York a lot too. I don't think I peaked then either, so it's fine.
It was just a different, unique experience.
Yeah, it's just like it's an experience that is easy to talk about. Yeah.
But it was the job I had in Seattle. I talked about it a little bit in the college episode, but I was working with a travel company, and I actually was working on their accessibility team, and it was actually really cool. So there were really two sides of the job. Like part of it was really, really cool, and I learned a lot, and part of it was kind of meh. But the meh part I'll just gloss over really quick was like I didn't feel like the team was really ready to have an intern. Like they didn't really know what to give me to do. So I didn't really have a lot. And so the majority of my job was actually like this like kind of side quest thing that really didn't pan out in the end, which was awkward. But but the overall experience was like neat because okay, so a little backstory. The NFB, the National Federation of the Blind, they are very unabashed in their approach to fighting for blindness. People have varying degrees of opinions on that, but you can't say that they don't get stuff done because the NFB often sues corporations for being inaccessible. And this was a similar case at this company that I was working for. But they got sued in like 2014. But they sort of settled, but they also had an action plan that they were going to be able to make their primary site, and they owned a lot of other smaller travel brands, but like they were going to make their primary site accessible by 2018, which is when I was working there. And it was really cool because by the time that I was there, like halfway through my internship, they pretty much reached that goal. And it was really impressive. Like, they had this big celebration, and they were like, we're accessible now. And, you know, they had made, like, a lot of work to get there. And, you know, there's still a lot of work to be done with accessibility. But the fact is that, like, the major issues were like fixed, and now it was a topic of conversation. Like, it wasn't something that people were just ignoring and pushing off until the very last minute. So that was really cool to, you know, be part of that vicariously since I was working there. And I loved living in Seattle. Like, obviously I've talked about that a lot, and it was a really fun and independent experience for me. I will say, and I don't want to slander anything, but my manager in that role was not the best. I had a really difficult time communicating with them, and I feel like they led me on a little bit. So by the time that I was done, I thought that I had done well, and they had told me that I had done well, but then like the internship program altogether said like, oh, your manager didn't think you were ready to like come on full time. And I felt so cheated. So I was like really mad when I left.
Oh man.
But yeah, it was still a really positive really positive overall in my life, and I learned a lot in terms of my future career, but that was not great.
It's interesting with a lot of these jobs how like, and not to sound cheesy, but there really are a lot of like good and bad parts of every job. But yeah, no, I don't think we like peaked in those seasons of our life. I think they were just like growth periods that like we reference back to a lot because we grew and learned a lot. It's not like, that was my coolest time of my life. It was more like, wow, that time changed me a lot. But no, that job still sounds definitely like you grew and learned a lot. I mean, even though there was some good and some bad, but it sounds like you also like were doing something more that you were interested in too.
Yeah, like, I definitely did, and I learned a ton, and it really came to help me in my future roles.
Nice. My next job is definitely the most random on the list for sure. Okay, so I don't think I've ever even talked much about this to you. I mean, I have a little bit, but so I think a lot of jobs you get, it's through who you know. Maybe not for everyone, but for me and for a lot of people I know, it's kind of like people you kind of get to talking and you find a job.
Networking?
I guess not. Yeah, kind of, but in this situation, not as much. So anyway, I actually kind of, like in a roundabout way, got this job through the New York State Commission for the Blind, but not really completely. So basically, I was working with the New York State Commission for the Blind. I was like taking classes and things, like they were helping me with navigation in New York. When I first moved there, I reached out to them to help me with like, navigating subways, things like that. And I met some people there, and I had told them I was looking for a job because my temp was temporary, right? And they knew of a few companies and things that were hiring that they told me to apply for. And one of them was this like very random energy company that I ended up getting the job at. It was a small startup started by, he was a former veteran, and he was a really cool guy. Really, really nice boss. Yeah. I've been really blessed with a lot of like cool, nice bosses. And anyway, it was an energy company where I didn't really do this part of it, but like the company would like retrofit local grocery stores and other places to try to get their monthly energy bill down. So like, cool. Adding solar panels, doing that kind of stuff, kind of like creating green jobs. So I obviously wasn't doing that, but I was kind of, again, like a secretary. I was kind of like scheduling the meetings, calling the people. I did make some cold calls, which I'm not like super proud of, like to different grocery stores, but sometimes they would like be like, yeah, come in and, talk with us.
So like sort of sales?
Kind of. I don't even know how to describe it. Because I was also just like doing things kind of what my boss needed me to do, like kind of like, scheduling his meetings and doing that kind of stuff. I don't even know how to describe it. I once again, the same as my dad's company, I had no passion for the mission really at all. Like, I think it was great what he was doing, but like, I mean, I did not really care. And I remember the first like few weeks, he was throwing so much jargon at me that I did not understand at all. And I felt like an idiot and I felt overwhelmed. But we got to do some cool stuff. We did a lot of networking since he was a small startup company. We went like to networking parties on the beach. We went to like a rooftop thing with all these like, other businesses. Like, that's so fun. I was just like along for the ride, and I felt I ended up quitting when I moved back to Memphis, but I enjoyed my boss was really nice. My coworkers were, actually I had one coworker who drove me nuts.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Like, it was bad. But, so, it's so funny with these things, though. There's always, like, good and bad,
right.
Situations. But it was an okay experience. All of these experiences have helped me be better with, like, people skills, communication, like even the computer skills. Like I was using Salesforce,
nice.
and other things like that. So like I learned, but was I really like passionate about it? Absolutely not. But I was still working downtown. I was working right near the Empire State Building. So that was cool. I got to like, you know,
were,
once
like,
again,
right
like,
there in
going to
Midtown.
work, like in Midtown, New York. So anyway, that was fun. All right. Next.
Okay, so that's super funny that you started out talking about it. It's like, oh, sometimes you get jobs from people you know. That's exactly what happened with this next job I had.
I love it.
So I had left my summer internship, A Woman Scorned.
Yes.
And I was a little bit salty. So it was the start of my senior year, and I had made this post on Facebook with a really snarky caption saying like, no, I don't know what I'm doing after graduation.
Oh my gosh, I love this story. I haven't heard this, but I love the beginning. I love the start of this.
And so, like, I just posted it because I thought it was funny and whatever. And it was my own private joke. So I got a random message from this woman that I had met through the American Council of the Blind Ohio chapter. I had gotten, like, a scholarship from them during my time in undergrad. And she just, like, messaged me and was like, hey, I know you're in, like, something technology. I don't even know if this is something you'd be interested in, but like I work like for the university doing accessibility work.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know if you want a job because I'm quitting.
Oh, I love stories like this. I love like what connections can do, you know?
Yeah, it was absolutely wild.
Crazy.
And I had forgotten I even knew this woman. And so I was like, okay. She was like, yeah, here's my boss's info. And I was like, sweet. So I had never considered working during class. I had not ever held a job in undergrad while I was doing school. And again, a lot of that is because like I like didn't have the time. I was really involved in other things. But yeah, so I met her boss and he was super chill, and he was also blind, and so he was like, hey, we do like accessibility evaluations and like testing and things on like university websites and like third-party websites that we were contracted through, and then we kind of like write up evaluations. And I was like, well, I kind of learned to do that this summer, so you know I could probably do that. So the spring of my senior year through the summer when I graduated, I worked part-time for the university doing accessibility testing. And it was actually really fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And that's like, I love seeing your trajectory because every time I feel like you're getting like closer and closer to your passions. Yeah. Am I right about that? Like, do you feel like that with every job?
Like, I really feel like, not to get super spiritual, but I feel like this was like God leading me toward the career path that I ultimately wanted.
Yeah.
And it really felt like good to have it come just really organically. Like I wasn't even like going out of my way too much, which I know is super rare, but I really felt grateful for that opportunity. And it was like, it's wild. I know lots of people through that job that I now work with as colleagues. I like my direct report, he was like the accessibility engineer, like he works on my team now. And it's really wild. And, my boss was really well known in the field, and I just got a ton of experience doing accessibility testing. And that is not something that's like easy to have or find. And it was cool. It was really cool. I can't believe
she just showed up in your DMs. Like, I've never heard that.
She slid into my DMs.
I never heard, like, you never have told me that part of it before. So I love that. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Cool. What's next? I almost forgot to mention that job, and I was like, wait a minute.
Oh my gosh, that's an important one. My next job.
It was a big step.
After a few years away, I stepped back into the theater. So I moved back to Memphis. I had already been messaging I wouldn't call her a friend at the time. Now we're friends. Actually, she listens to this podcast like every time. So hello, Lena. I'll say her name. But
That's awesome.
She worked at this theater. I was messaging her like before I moved back, like, hey, can I, because I knew some spots were opening. I was like, can I apply for this job? How do I do it? She said yes. It was always, this theater was always kind of like bigger than, like, I felt like they didn't know who I was and I was not good enough for them, kind of thing. It's kind of far from where I live, so I never really performed at this theater growing up. And I felt like, oh, they don't know me, they're not going to like me or whatever. But basically my position there, it was kind of in their education.
Yeah.
It was kind of in their education department. And we did a lot of different fun, really cool things. I'm so grateful for that experience. It was so much fun. We, cool. It was like part performing, part teaching. We taught at these different schools, like 4 different schools, charter schools, where we would go teach theater. And we also performed not only, so some of our performances were like at the theater, and field trips would come and we would do a few a day, and different school groups would come, and then we'd work with those kids some and do like workshops with them and things sometimes. And then also we would travel. We would go to all different schools all around the area and perform different shows at the schools. And that's I even cool. got to do some extra things with them, like perform in some other places. And it was a lot of fun. I equally like performing and teaching. Well, maybe not equally. I think I prefer performing more. But the teaching was really fun. I was really scared because it was middle schoolers. Yeah. I was like, middle schoolers are mean. But they weren't. It was lovely. The performing was fun. I did so many different characters and shows while I was there.
That's awesome.
And we helped out with this big theater festival in the summer. I mean, I got to do a lot of different things. I could go on, but it was a lot of fun. And my boss there, who's the one that listens to this podcast, became a good friend of mine, and I really love her. And so, like, speaking of good bosses, like, you know, she's not even that much older than me, so like she was my boss, but also we were like friends, and so that was fun. That's about it with that. But you can go on to your next one. I know we have other things to discuss too, so I don't want to go on too long. But
sure, yeah, and I'll try to make this quick. When let's see, it was like the fall of my senior year, I was trying to apply to have a job lined up after undergrad. And I got this random message through like a student, it's like a student messaging board service that we used to ask questions in class, but it also had this careers platform. So like I got like some recruiter reached out to me from a local like financial firm that is in Columbus, and so they were like, hey, you're local, do you want to like interview, or, do you want to like look into careers at our firm? And I was like, sure, okay, yeah, I'm open to pretty much anything. So I did, and I went through kind of the traditional route, like I just applied online, and but because probably the recruiter reached out to me, they already like knew who I was, and so then like I went in for an interview on such a weird term, what they call a super day. They just have like a bunch of prospective like hirees come in and have like one big room with lots of like interviewers, and you kind of rotate. I don't know. So we did that, and like I kind of felt like it hadn't gone super well. But I had been applying to like lots of different other jobs, and but they ended up like extending me an offer, and it was really cool. So I was really excited. But like it was in that interview that I was like, hey, by the way, like I'm specialized in accessibility. I'd love to do something with that, not just like, typical software engineering development type stuff. And so it was when I first started working at this job, I was actually I was a tester. I was a software QA. I mentioned this before because I had this job when we started this pod. So I think I already said where I work. I work at Chase Bank. Like I would work and test our like mobile apps and things like that, and I would make sure that they worked properly, but I also I did a lot of the accessibility testing for our team, and I also did like Spanish language testing because I'm bilingual, and that was something that I could do. So I really enjoyed that job, honestly. Like, I really like testing. I think it's really fun. I think some people might find that repetitive and boring, and like, I don't know, I guess it's just like personal preference, but I really did. I learned a ton. I felt like I had a lot of freedom in that job, where I got to pretty much explore things that were interesting to me. So like, I started testing accessibility in Spanish, and I don't really think anyone had actually done that before.
Wow.
But it was cool and fun, and I still am working on like making like accessibility in Spanish better for our like Spanish speaking customers with disabilities. But
oh my gosh,
but yeah,
you're such a trailblazer. No, I'm so proud
personally,
of you,
just like, it bothered me, and I felt like it was crappy that we weren't offering a good experience, so I had to say something.
Yeah, no, I'm so proud of you. Like, that was an awesome, incredible job. Like, especially for someone as young as you. Like, not to be like, you're so young, but like, I mean, seriously, like that's an amazing job. And
Thanks.
You might not think she could go up from there, folks, but in fact, she can. So now we're kind of getting into like what we're doing now, I guess. I'm doing lots of things. So I'll kind of
Casey's a busy gal.
quickly go over all of them. So during the pandemic, I got a job through a website where you help teach kids grammar. Basically, kids read for you, and you like correct them through like phonics and like like IPA. Like I don't know how to. I forget what that word is called, but like
linguistics.
Yeah. I can't remember the exact word for it, but anyway, I have like a chart of all of the like vowel and consonant sounds, and I like add in the corrections and stuff like that. So I've had that job for a while. It's on your own time. You can work like pretty much full-time hours if you want to or not. And the pay goes up and down depending on the time of year, but it's a pretty decent job though. But I was doing that for a little bit, while I tried to find something during the pandemic. Then, as far as what I'm doing now, I'm doing a few different things. So I still have that job. And then I don't really, should I say like the one, should I say the name of it?
If you want.
I don't really want like, I don't know. Should I?
It's up to you. It's completely
anyway,
up to you.
There's a nonprofit that, helps people with our disability. I guess I'll just say that. And I had applied for a volunteer position there, and I did not get that position, but they ended up contacting me again and hiring me on part-time as a contractor, and then recently hired me on as an employee. Because I've been there, I feel like I'm all over the place, but I've been with them now for a year. So this was December of 2020. Really, really love it. Like, probably the best job I've ever had in my life. It's something I'm passionate about. I love the people. I really can't complain about it at all. It's like my life passion, pretty much. And so cool. Then my other thing I'm doing is not really a job, but hopefully can be one day. I am trying to be a Braille transcriber. Y'all, I'm about to fail out of the whole course, low key.
No, you're not. You're not.
I'm toward the end, but I'm like barely skirting by at the moment. It's the hardest thing. I never like knew how hard it would be. I think my dream life would be being able to still work at my nonprofit and also do that as like a freelancer or something. I don't know what my future really holds. I would love to still work in the disability space. I think my two biggest passions are performing and disability. And even through my nonprofit, I get to perform some like for different events and stuff we do. And that's been really, really fun. And there's another nonprofit I work a little bit for as well, kind of on and off. And if I ever like ask for more hours from them, they would definitely allow me to, but it's not as consistent. And that's another disability nonprofit. I'm sorry I'm being so cryptic. I know since I'm currently working there, I'd rather not say, just because, you know, the less information about my life, probably the better. But that's all you need to know is it's in the nonprofit sector. I really enjoy nonprofits. I feel like people really like care about the mission, and you kind of feel like you're doing something important, like that's helping people. And so I really like nonprofits.
Oh, yeah. No, it's awesome. And I'm involved in these nonprofits in different unpaid ways. And like Casey's doing like a bomb job. So way to go, girl.
Boo. Thanks, Boo. I feel very, very content in it. I do.
I already talked a little bit about what I do now in our New Year's episode when I talked about getting like a new job. And so that is what I'm going to talk about, so I'll just make it really quick. I still work for the same company, and I actually work as an accessibility advisor. So I basically made a bunch of noise while I was a tester, and I really ultimately wanted to do this job. And so it's really cool to say that I'm doing it right now, but I'd been working closely with like the advisor that was assigned to where I was working in at Chase. And so this advisor was like, hey, we have a new role opening up, like, would you want to apply, because I really think that you would get it. And I was like, wow, okay. That was, you know, I was definitely expecting it was gonna take a lot longer for me to be able to make this move, but it really worked out just super well. And this was like last almost spring into summer. And I was like keeping Casey like in the loop throughout all this, and all of my like thoughts taking this new role. But
oh yes, no, I was so excited for her. I was like praying, like, please let her get this, and it seemed really, really like likely that she would. But I was still like, because I knew that you really wanted it, and this was like a dream position for you.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's really cool to be able to like work with all kinds of people that are making like new experiences for our customers, like designers and developers and people who are like product owners. So like they, you know, kind of come up with the ideas, so to speak. But anyway, just really cool to be able to give my 2 cents. And then, you know, while I'm doing that, like kind of Casey's doing a school type thing in Braille transcribing, which I want to take a small detour, and I know this could go on for a long time, but like for those listening, I need to clarify on behalf of Casey that Braille transcribing is not just learning Braille, okay?
No.
It's a lot more complicated than that, and she's been doing it for like 2 years.
It's so much, y'all. I've never had more meticulous rules in like for anything in my life. So
she's doing Braille in Spanish, you guys. She doesn't even speak Spanish.
All kinds of wild stuff going on over in Braille land.
Girl, no, and yeah, so
it makes me want to pull my hair out, but I love it.
I
love it because I also love literature, so it kind of brings together those two loves. But yes, you are in grad school.
Yes, and I'm in grad school, like I mentioned in the New Year's episode, to try and see if I can be a designer, or if I can be like an accessibility specialized designer is ultimately what I'd like to do. And it's really fun so far. I like school, and it's a lot of reading, which I guess I'm not used to, and my eyes are pretty tired, but but the material is interesting enough that I don't want to fall asleep, so I think that's a plus.
Yeah, that's definitely a plus. I love it. I think like going through all of our jobs, like all of our jobs we've had brought us to where we are now, but I think we're really, really happy with where we are now, and we're really grateful, and it's so cool to like have things you're doing that you really actually like doing. So yeah, really cool. So cool. Anyway, we want to briefly touch on discrimination. You know, this is hard to talk about. It's a touchy subject. We definitely don't want to act like it doesn't exist, because it absolutely does. We also don't necessarily want to act like we are like super like the victim or whatever. Like personally, and this is just for me, I haven't actually experienced that much discrimination, and I'm really grateful for that. But when it has happened, it has been real. It's not me making things up. Like this actually happens to us, and it is not always easy. And I think we each have like one story to share. Do you want to go first?
Okay, so as a sophomore in college, and I had already known that I wanted to pursue accessibility in some passion and like in some respect in my career, but I didn't have any experience with it. And so I was looking around for possible jobs that I could have, like internships, and I came across, I will not say the name of this company because it is like a household name. So I saw this internship that was like an accessibility engineer internship, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. And so I was super excited. Like I tailored my resume, like I wrote like the first cover letter I ever wrote. I was super proud, and I like submitted all my materials, and I immediately got a rejection letter. And I was like, but how? They didn't even look at it. And it was because the job was intentionally written to discriminate against people. Something that was required was a driver's license, and I can't drive because I'm blind, and we've talked about this. And like I think it would make more sense if I said where it was and the company, but I really don't want to do that. So sorry if this is kind of stuttery while I try to redact as what I'm saying. But like the area that I would have had to cover, I guess, was really large. So they would have wanted me to like kind of drive between, let's say, campuses. And, you know, they had a really solid transportation system. But like, you know, I was like, well, why can't I use that? That seems to work super well. I would imagine that it's not like a really long process to get from one campus to another. So I opened up a complaint with the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission.
Good.
And I was just like, hey, like, I don't think it's right that this job is intentionally written to discriminate against people on the basis pretty much of their disability, which is a big reason why people wouldn't drive. And so, you know, they contacted someone, and I basically ended up talking to someone from HR who like totally wrote me off. They were just like, oh, well, like that's just how it would have been. And I asked my question. I'm like, well, why can't I use the transportation that you guys have? And they were like, well, we need you to like get there faster. And honestly, it just like they really came up with every excuse in the book, and none of it made any sense. And like it was really hurtful, and I could have gone deeper. I probably could have fought it. I don't really think I could have fought it, because if I got a lawyer, then they would have gotten like their like 25,000 lawyers that are all like really, you know, well versed at what they do for protecting a company. But I decided to let it go because I felt like even if I did get the job, they wouldn't have wanted me there, and I would have been made to feel crappy even while I was there. And so I just let it go. But like, you know, I still think about it and it rubs me the wrong way. Like I'm really like disappointed in this company that they make this a requirement for a lot of their jobs. Like almost all of their jobs require this. I think, and it's really unfair. Unless
you are being an Uber driver or a truck driver, I don't see why a license would be required. Like I don't. If we can make it, and I've seen that in other applications I've done before with the license. Yeah. If we are able to make it to work, it doesn't matter how we're getting there. And I don't know why, like, people would. But I'm really sorry that happened, because that sounds like it would have been the perfect job for you.
It would have been really cool, but, you know, it worked out better, I guess, in other ways. And I'm I'm happy with the jobs that I've had. But
yes. So my story, it was through that temp agency, like I was talking about. A few of my best friends also were doing jobs through that agency. And there was a big event coming up, and it is like a household name as well, the event. So I won't say it. I'll tell you later what it was. Okay. But it paid really well. And the temp agency, the woman that was like our, like, I don't know what you would call her, but the woman who was like finding the jobs for us, you know, she was reaching out to everybody, like all of my friends. Please work this event. We need more workers for this event. We need more. She wasn't reaching out to me. She didn't email me. And I wanted the job. I wanted the work. And I was doing really well at my other job for the temp agency too. Like my boss loved me. I was doing fine. Everything was fine. And this job, by the way, too, like would not require like vision per se. It's not like a visual job, the thing I'm talking about. So
Okay.
my friend was in her office one day and she said, hey, Casey would like to do this job. Like, why don't you reach out to her? And she said, oh, well, I didn't reach out to her because I just thought with her vision, like, she might not be able to do it. And first of all, there's a lot of things wrong with this. Assuming that I couldn't do it without actually asking if I could do it. If I can't do something, I'll tell you. Just ask. Straight up ask me, can you do this? And I'll say yes or no. First of all, that's an issue. But second of all, discussing my disability with my friend behind closed doors, like, my friend did not bring it up. My friend didn't say a word.
Legal.
It's not legal. It's not even like my friend said anything. She just said my name. And this woman automatically is like, yeah, well, her vision. I'm like, whoa. Like, wow. I know that this is my friend and she obviously already knows about my vision, but like, you're not supposed to discuss my disability. So that was a mess. And at that, I didn't say anything because at that time I was leaving the temp agency, and this event, it was like, it did pay well, but it was a one-time thing that lasted only like a week. It wasn't like a thing that was going to change my life job-wise, but looking back, I probably should have said something, choose your battles.
That is bogus.
Pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So that's why I'm not saying the name of that place, but
that makes me want to throw up.
No, it was bad. And my friend she was just like so angry.
That sounds like a terrible person. And if she didn't get fired over that, she'll get fired over something. She's probably going to get, if she's that loose-lipped, like, honestly.
Yeah. Sure. So we have again. And I think this is going to be our longest podcast ever, but you know what? I really don't care.
It's fine.
Please just keep listening. I listen to a lot of pods that are long, so maybe you'll like this if you're on a long drive, but we won't make this too long. But I'm excited for this game. This game...
We hyped this up to each other so much.
We are going to explain. So we wrote down a bunch of jobs that we would want to do if our life had gone down a different path. We have a list of realistic jobs, like jobs we actually could see ourselves doing and being good at. And then we have a list of like dream jobs that are like, I probably would never and could never do this, but it's like one of those like far off dream type jobs. Now, I'm not going to say anything theater related, because even though I'm not currently doing theater, it's more of like something I still might pursue in the future. So I'm not like even putting that in the category, but let's just, you want to go back and forth with the realistic jobs first?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Okay, so I said I could be a game designer because, yes. And I guess that is still like in the realm of possibilities, but I think it's a little bit further off because I didn't really stay in the gaming world. In terms of my career, I like specialized in like computer graphics and game design in undergrad just because I had to pick a specialty, but like I didn't really do too much in that realm. But I don't know, it could have been really cool.
Game design would be so cool. You'd be good at that too. So my next like job I would have totally pursued had I not have had like other passions. I know it's so silly, but like I low-key would want to be a librarian.
No, that'd be so cute. You could be like Rupert Childs.
I know. I love books. I love being around books. I also could see myself like a bookshop girl, like low-key, like You've Got Mail style.
Yes. Oh my God.
That would be a dream. I would totally go back to school to be a librarian if I wasn't doing a lot of other things I care about. So that's it.
Dude, you could totally do that.
Thank you. Okay.
I
won't, but I could.
Another thing that I have considered, I guess I'm going to combine a couple things that I wrote because I think they're like related.
Yeah.
I guess like I could do this in the future, but I'm not really sure. So like a small part of me has always wanted a PhD in something. And maybe that's what, maybe it's because like my dad has a PhD. So I think it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And very superficially, but like PhDs look cool when they graduate and they have cool robes and stuff.
They do.
But, something that I think that I'm like passionate about is that when I was in school in computer science, like we never learned about accessibility, and I think that's really messed up because just so many like fresh out of college developers go to their industry jobs and they don't really know anything about accessibility, and then it's like suddenly just like something that they need to instantly know how to do and do well, and it's not that simple. So like I've always kind of wanted to maybe be a lecturer and talk about like have a course on accessibility. I think it would be really cool, and just to be able to, I don't know, inspire more people to get into the field, because it is kind of it's a cool field, but it's also like a noble mission. We try to get the internet and everything else to be more accessible. So
heck yeah, that would be really cool. I can see you doing that. The next one I would never actually pursue, but I thought about it when I was going into college for like 2 split seconds. Something with counseling. I can see myself being like a school counselor. Not really like a full-on like psychologist, but like counseling, and or I kind of growing up always wanted to have an advice column, like be an advice columnist.
Oh, that's so cute.
Like I just
Dear Abby?
like kind of, yeah. I like giving advice, but also with the counseling thing, I like it's my type 2. I like helping people. A lot of my jobs are into like helping people, and like comforting people, and like I feel like I'm kind of an approachable person. At least people have told me that. I feel like a lot of times I'll meet a stranger and they'll just dump their entire life onto me.
Yes. You have that effect.
I have that effect. I don't know why, but that's the thing. So anyway,
that's
counseling.
Cool. My dad has that effect. Actually, so my grandma was a guidance counselor.
Oh, cute.
So that's really cool. I think that you definitely could have done that.
Yeah, I could have. Yeah, that was another life path I didn't go down.
I think something that I think is just cool, and it's somewhat related to my master's, but not like in a way that I would ever pursue it as a career, is like an industrial or a product designer. So like instead of doing, I don't know, like digital stuff, it would be like physical stuff. But
yeah,
like I like ergonomics and that kind of a field. I think it's a really cool field. I have a friend who's a product designer, and like what she does sounds really cool and very interesting.
Nice.
But yeah, I feel like I could probably do it, but I don't know that I ever will.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. My next one, I have been paid to do this a few times, like from like family and friends, but my next one is a video editor.
Ooh.
I love editing. I always have. I've always loved filming, videography, editing since I was a little girl, just for fun. I've never really taken many classes in it or anything like that. But I've made people's like wedding videos and things, and for family and friends. And it's just fun. And I thought about for a little while pursuing like trying to get paid for it like more. But yeah. But I did not.
Girl, I've made a couple videos and I hate editing. So
well, you know what's funny too, like I have a YouTube channel and I don't even edit on those very much. Like I literally like sit and talk, so there's not much editing to be done, but I enjoy like the repetitiveness of editing. I enjoy editing the pod. I like just like it's like therapeutic to just like click click. I don't know, I like it.
Some people really like I don't know, I feel like some repetitive tasks people really like, and some people don't like the same ones. I don't know.
I love it. I know one of my best friends hates anything repetitive. Like she gets bored, but I kind of like it. It's like calming to me.
I know, but I feel like same. That's why
I like the artsy aspect of it too. Obviously, the artistic. Yeah.
That's so cool. I would say I think that's all of my realistic jobs. I would say a graphic designer, because I have also been commissioned to do some like graphic design things, or like volunteered to do that, but that is like actually kind of related to user experience. Like visual design is part of user experience, so I don't know, maybe I will.
Okay, well I still have I'll go really quick on my last few like realistic ones. The other one would be a talk show or radio host. That was always something. I always wanted to do radio growing up, so hey, podcast. Another thing would be like something church related, but I don't really know what. I just really, I love God. And so like I was thinking about like my passions in life, and I've never really been called to serve in the church, but I could see myself doing something like part-time at a church one day or something,
I could see you teaching like Sunday school.
Yeah,
that'd be adorable.
Something like that. So yeah, now we're getting into the dream jobs that are like, we're never going to do these or pursue these. but they would be like a far off dream job.
Yeah. So this is where I put like a radio DJ. I think that'd be super fun. I love the radio, and I love our alternative radio. So I was like, I sometimes listen to the DJs talk, and I'm like, man, that would be like so fun.
I love that we both put that, and we're both podcasting.
I know, like to meet like artists that you care about, and like interview them. Like, that's really cool.
I feel like I'd want to do it more for like the acting side and like of like talking, and you would want to do it more of like you're so passionate about music, like, and getting to like meet the musicians and stuff. But we're both kind of doing that, except not the music part, but we're kind of doing it. My dream TV critic or movie critic.
Yes.
I am obsessed with deconstructing movies, TV shows, reviewing them. I do it to my friends. Like, I literally will like call my friends and like go off for an hour about the way something was shot or like something. I'm so into it, but I bother the people in my life with it. But I would totally
so perfect.
I would totally do it.
Okay, so this is a job that I feel like you know what I'm gonna say, but I wanted to do this when I was a kid, and then I didn't, and then on and off I've like thought about it when I was like having a crisis in 2020. I like looked into
what
culinary school. I've always been interested. Yeah,
I mean, like, I'm not surprised, but I didn't know you had actually looked into it.
Yes, I did. And then I was like, no, it costs too much money, and I don't think it's worth it. But it was like virtually, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. I would love to like learn like the concepts, like learning them. But I don't know. It's one of those artistic things where like, one, I feel like I could ruin a hobby.
Yes.
That like it would feel like work.
Yes.
But also like, it's one of those art things that like you like put your heart and soul into something, and then you get it like ripped apart. So
yes.
I don't know if I could take it.
No, I know. But okay, your dream ones are a little more like realistic for you. Well, okay, two of the TV critic and this next one are realistic, and the others aren't at all. I could never do them. But my next one is a Disney princess at Disney World.
Oh.
I would love to be like Tinkerbell. Like, I literally,
cute.
for
oh
a while...
God, you'd be so cute.
For a while, I was so into that dream. But I think they have to be outside a lot. And, like, low-key, you can't wear sunglasses. So, you know, my dream died at that moment when I discovered that. But I would love that. So, yeah. What's your next one?
Something that, like, my second semester of undergrad, I was, like, panicking, and then this was like looking into something, and it's really related to culinary school, but I was thinking about food science, and then I remembered that I'm not good at chemistry.
Oh.
And then I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that.
That's
but I've
hilarious.
always thought like looking into that kind of thing was really cool. I had a friend that was in food science, and she's, you know, she was telling me that it was just really hard to get a job, but she took like a ton of like, she took like microbiology and biochemistry, and I was like, oh, you know what, honestly, like I'm not that good at hard science, so like it probably wouldn't have worked out. But and besides, the job market is not the bomb. Like, she's going back to school to be like a nurse practitioner, so
oh my gosh, that's wild. But that would no, that'd be a cool job. I've never even like thought of that as a job possibility. Do you have two more?
I have one more.
I have two more. So these two are like completely, I could never do them ever because I'm not good at this thing. My next one, I like, when I say I couldn't, I mean like that's not a joke. I literally could not do this. But my next thing would be an animator because I can't do it. And I mean, I can draw like decently, but nowhere near what they need to be. But I love animation. I love it. I appreciate it. I think it's so amazing and talented and beautiful. And I would love to like be in that field, like, but I can't draw. So no.
Hey, I mean, you could always do like computer animation though, if you could learn. Like I guess it's like kind of like editing though. Maybe.
Hey. I'll just be the voice of the next Disney princess. How about that?
There you go. Oh, girl. When you're famous, I want to ride your coattails. Okay.
Okay. No. No.
The last thing was something that Casey suggested to me.
Yes.
And it was like something relating to travel, like a travel blogger or just some sort of like I don't know, like, tester of, like, I don't know, hotels, or, like, be the first person to try, like, this kind of, like, excursion, or, you know, just be able to, like, have experiences and travel and review things. Like, that would be so fun. Oh my gosh. I think that's, like, a lot of people's, like, dream job.
It would be, but you'd actually be really good at it, because, like, you love travel, but you'd also be good at, like, reviewing, and I can totally see it.
It would be really fun, I gotta say.
Yes. And my very last one, this is, like, something also that would never, ever, 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 ever happen, but it's, like, one of those dreams would be to be, like, a rock star like Hayley Williams.
Oh, I know, right?
Just, like, how fun. I know, like, that's probably your dream, too.
I've thought about that sometimes when I hear, like, artists I really like. I'm like, man, what if I were on stage? And then I was like, I'm actually really not good at songwriting, so nope.
No, me neither at all. People ask me that constantly when I tell them I sing. They're like, oh, you can write songs. I'm like, absolutely not. No, I don't know why you think that. Nope, not even close.
I can sing songs.
Yep, I'll sing a song. And even though we both can sing, we're not, like, that kind of singer. Like, you know, like, I could never be, like, a Paramore. But, man, that would be fun, wouldn't it? To be a headbanging on stage. Running around. So cool. Be so fun. So anyway,
that'd be fun.
That was kind of a long ep, but we hope you enjoyed it, and we sure enjoyed talking about all of these jobs, many possibilities our life can go down, but we're very happy with where we are right now, and could not be happier.
Absolutely. So stay tuned for more. We haven't had an episode this long in a while, so we hope it was still a lot of fun, and please check out our link and donate to our cause.
Yes. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.